This is Rebecca Fillmore, and I want to welcome you to Her Inspired Mind podcast. Each week, I will be helping you strengthen your mind, be inspired, encouraged, and empowered. Be sure to hit that subscribe or follow button so that you don't miss out on any future episodes. And if you aren't yet, follow me on Instagram at Inspire Her Mindset for daily inspiration. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Her Inspired Mind podcast. Today, I want to talk to you about something that you cannot afford to keep doing. Now, you're probably wondering, what do you mean? What is something that I can't afford to keep doing? Well, that thing that you can't afford to keep doing is sacrificing yourself to make others happy. Again, sacrificing yourself to make others happy. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, I'll give you a little bit of a story, my own personal story and journey. Growing up, I was always a people pleaser because I love to help people and I like to make other people feel happy. And for many years of my life, I would put others' people's happiness before mine. And an example of this is, as I let you know in a previous episode, I got married when I was 16. And when I got married, I was, still a teenager. And I think that a 16-year-old is not in the wisest mind to decide or make a decision that big, right? But because of what I had seen my older siblings go through, I didn't want to go through the things that they went through. So throughout my marriage, as we grew older, I started to notice that we started growing apart and we started to just have different interests. We weren't the same people we were when we were teenagers, of course. And, I started to feel very unhappy. And even though I felt unhappy, I kept trying to make it work, right? Because that's what you do. When you commit to something, you don't give up easily. But as the years went by, I would say an extra 7 years, I just continued to feel worse and worse. Not because he was a bad man. He didn't treat me badly. I don't have anything bad to say about him. So it had nothing to do with him, but it had everything to do with me and my happiness and how I was feeling and how I was growing as a person. The 16-year-old me versus the 25-year-old me, which is usually the age that they say that women and men, you finally come to know who you are. But I was afraid to get out of that marriage, not only because of how I wondered how that would affect my son, who was 5 at the time, but also the church that I was in. You don't just get divorced. Like, there has to be biblical background, like infidelity or something, in order for you to get divorced. So for many years, I tried to make it work, but I wasn't happy. I felt empty. I felt detachment, and I felt really unfulfilled, not only in the marriage, but I feel like in life in general, because of the way that I grew up and the religious organization that I was in. There was a lot of things that I didn't experience growing up and that maybe other teenagers did, not only because I got married so young, but because of also the religious organization that I was in. And so there was times where when I would be by myself in the shower, I'd just be praying to God to help me to continue and just feeling this need to get out of the marriage. But I didn't want to hurt my son, first of all. My parents, the expectations they had, because my parents had been married for so many years. They were like a model example of what marriage was. Also, the religious organization I was in, there was a lot of pressure on me, but I would just feel so sad, so down and depressed. I'd be just crying in the shower on my way home from work to work. I mean, it consumed me, the thought that I was not happy with my life, but at the same time thinking, well, I'm not happy, but if I get out of this, how is it going to affect this person? And what is this other person going to think about me? And what's going to be said about me? And am I going to be judged? And like, just not knowing, like, oh my God, can I afford to be a single mom? And, just so many questions. And I honestly stayed in the marriage for an extra 7 years. Then I wanted to get out of it, and when I finally made the decision to get out of it, it still wasn't easy, but it was a point in time where I hit rock bottom because of me not being happy in the marriage. I did things that were out of my character that I wouldn't have imagined that I would do. And, I was like, I'm digging myself into a bigger hole. And that's when I decided, like, as much as it would hurt me or my son or my parents or my church or anyone else that knew us, I had to break free. And it was hard, but because of me doing that and stepping up, I had to face, it was hard at first being a single mom, but fast forward almost 6 years now, I'm the happiest I've ever been. I'm walking in my purpose. I feel whole, complete, and at peace, and I feel joy every day that I wake up. So if you're in a crossroads right now where you're living your life or have been living your life in order to make other people happy, I totally understand what you're feeling, because it's not an easy position to be in. I want to ask you, how are you feeling with your life right now? Like, being honest. Are you really, truly happy? When you wake up in the morning, are you looking forward to your days or are you dreading it? Do you pass your days by just staying busy, like working and doing this activity and that activity? Because if you do take the time to pause and be still, reality hits you and you really aren't happy with your life. Are you doing the things that make you feel happy and fulfilled? Or have you stopped doing certain things because you became a mom or a wife? Or are you going to school for something that you really love? Or are you going to school because it's something that your parents want you to do? Are you in a career that doesn't make you feel happy or fulfilled, but you're doing it because it makes you a lot of money? There's different circumstances in which you can be in right now. And if you're in this position, I want you to really reflect about where you're at. Are you living the life? Are you truly living life the way you want to and on your terms? Or are you living it in order to please others? I've also seen, so many times you see couples who, after their children leave to college or high school, and you see these couples that have been together for so long and all of a sudden they get divorced. And then you look at them and you're like, but why did they wait so long? Like, now that the kids are gone. And that's just an example of people living their lives, sacrificing their happiness for 20, 30, 40 years in order to make their kids happy, in order to keep a facade, in order to not damage their image, that they have this beautiful, happy marriage, but both partners are miserable and unhappy. And, that's not a way to live, because time is your most valuable asset. The time that passes by, you cannot get that back. So every minute that you're living life in a way that you're not happy or feeling unfulfilled, that's time that you can never get back. We don't know what can happen in an instant. I mean, we seen it when COVID hit our country, the world actually, and we were shut down because people, sometimes think that, oh, I'll do it next year or I'll do it next month. But the reality is we don't know what's going to happen next year, next month, or even in the next moment. So you cannot continue to afford to sacrifice your happiness in order to make others feel happy and fulfilled. You can't continue to do this, because imagine if something were to happen where you go to the doctors tomorrow or next week and they tell you that you have a terminal illness. How are you going to feel? Are you going to feel like, wow, you know what? I can come to terms with that because I've lived my life to the fullest and I've done everything that I felt like I was put on this earth to do. Or are you going to start thinking like, oh my God, I didn't get to do this. I didn't get to that. I didn't get to go there. Like, don't wait for that moment to get here in order for you to wake up and realize that your happiness is in your hands and you don't have to continue to sacrifice your happiness in order to please others. You were put on this earth for a reason and a purpose. Now, do you know what that purpose is right now? Because if you don't, today's the day to start asking those questions and looking for your purpose. Because when you put others' happiness and needs before yours, you lose yourself. And I want to ask you, do you even know who you are? Sitting right there where you're at or standing, whatever you're doing. Do you feel like you even know who you are? Do you know what makes you happy? Do you know what makes you feel fulfilled? Or have you been sacrificing and doing things to please others for so long that you have no idea? And if you're in this position right now, this is your wake-up call. I need you to wake up right now, and I need you to start taking immediate action. Immediate action. Start writing down on paper the things that you dreamed about doing when you were a little child. Start dreaming the same way, the same desires that you had when you're younger. Did you get to fulfill those dreams, or did you put it on the back burner in order to please others? So I want you to write down and really look at, how you're living your life. And the reason I always tell you guys to write things down is because you can think about it in your head. But I love the quote that I heard. I believe it was Rob Dow Jr. He's one of the podcasters that I love to listen to. The Mindset Mentor. You can check him out as well. But, he said, you can't solve a very complex math problem in your head. No, you go and you write it on paper and you figure it out on paper. So how can you expect to figure out your life just in your head? Every day that's passing by, you're thinking and you're wondering, what if? Or I wonder if I could. And all you do is think, and you're just going to a job that you hate. You're living a life that you hate. You're miserable. And because you're miserable, maybe now you're turning to alcohol to numb your pain and to numb the emptiness that you feel inside. Or maybe you have turned to drugs, whatever it might be, gambling. There's different things that you may have turned to. Or even sometimes just wasting time, hours on the internet, on social media, just looking at other people living their life. Meanwhile, you're suffering in silence and you're miserable with your life and you're feeling empty and you're not walking in your purpose. Now, I know what that feels like. And if this hits you, I hope that it doesn't just hit you, but it pushes you to take action in order to change the trajectory of the rest of your life. Because your life is in your hands. Your happiness is your responsibility and no one else's. So you need to take a stance right now and start taking the steps to help you to feel happy, to feel joyful, to wake up feeling fulfilled and walking in your purpose. Stop worrying about what everyone else will think about you. Stop thinking about what everyone else wants you to do and start living life for you. Not in a mean way or stepping over others or treating others bad. That's not what I'm saying. But you need to start living life in a way that when you wake up every single morning, you open your eyes and you're like, yes, what am I looking forward to today? Right? And when you get up, you feel peace, you feel joy, you feel calmness, you feel whole, you feel centered. Because if you continue to sacrifice your life in order to make others happy, you're going to continue to feel miserable. And not only you, but you might be making the people around you feel miserable as well. Because we tend to project onto other people how we feel. So I hope that from this episode that you really think about where you are in life, and if you're truly living for yourself, or if you've been sacrificing your happiness and your life for others. And if that's the case, I hope to hear how you're going to take steps to change that. Again, please feel free. I love to talk to my listeners. You can find me on Instagram at Inspire Her Mindset. You can also find me on Facebook at Rebecca Fillmore. And, if you start doing something that's going to help you to live your life happy and stop sacrificing your happiness for others, take a picture or a video that you post on your stories or on your page, because I would love to see you walking in your journey. Thank you for tuning in, and I will catch you guys on the next episode.